So last week, we looked at the very first video that talked about the importance of the Shema, learning about what the word actually means. The kind of two key words that keep sticking out for that is to hear and to obey. In the midst of that, I even associated the hear and obey to hearing and responding. So we talked about the understanding that Shema teaches us the power of not just hearing the word, but our response is the actions that is associated with that. And we're trying to correlate each week the text into recognizing that we as a holiness people, how the Shema is an all-encompassing movement towards becoming a people of holiness. This week we're actually going to explore and take a look at the word Yahweh. What does the word Yahweh actually mean and look like? So let's take a look at that video right now.
For thousands of years, every morning and evening, Jewish people have prayed these well-known words as a way of expressing their devotion to God. They're called the Shema. Hear, O Israel, the Lord is our God, the Lord is one. And as for you, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. We're going to look at the second key word here, Lord, written in all capital letters. This is the personal name of Israel's God. We first learn the meaning of this name in the story of Moses and the burning bush in the book of Exodus chapter 3. God appears to Moses and he commissions him to liberate the Israelites from slavery. And so Moses wonders, what if people ask the name of the God who has sent me? And so God responds, tell them, Yaweh has sent me to you. Now, that Hebrew word Yaweh means I will be. In other words, God's name means that he is the one who is and who will be. God's existence doesn't depend on anyone or anything else. This God simply is. But it will sound kind of strange for Moses to go say to the Israelites, I will be has sent me to you. Only God can say, I will be. So in the next sentence, God tells Moses the version he should say aloud, Yahweh, the God of our ancestors, he has sent me to you. Now, that word Yahweh is the ancient Hebrew form of the verb he will be. And this is the personal name of the God of Israel. It appears over 6,500 times in the Old Testament. Now, here's what's interesting. Over the centuries, Israelites wanted to honor the sacred nature of this divine name. So, as they read the Hebrew Bible aloud and they came to this name, they stopped saying Yahweh and instead started saying the Hebrew word for Lord, which is Adonai. Now, this practice has been continued throughout the centuries, and so later, when people started translating the Bible into English, they adopted the same practice. Instead of spelling out the divine name, they translated it as Lord, spelled in all capital letters. Okay, you got that? Good, because there's more. Ancient Jewish scribes wanted to prevent anyone from even accidentally saying this name aloud when you read the Hebrew Bible. And so they came up with a visual device to remind you to make sure you say Adonai. They took the 4 consonant letters of the divine name. These letters correspond to our English letters YHWH. Then they inserted the 3 vowels from the word Adonai and combined these together to create an artificial hybrid word, which if you pronounced it, it would say Yahuwah, but no Israelite ever said Yahuwah. It's simply a visual reminder to say the word Adonai. Now, it gets more interesting. Much later, Christian scribes came along who didn't know that Yahuwah was an artificial word, and so they began to say it aloud and spell it in their writings. This is the word that eventually entered into English as Jehovah. It's a word many people still use today. But the main thing is, the word Lord in all capital letters is an indication of the divine name. Don't confuse it with the word Lord in your English translations that's not in all capital letters. That is the actual Hebrew word Adon, which just means Lord or master. This word can refer to people like kings or the master of a servant, even a shepherd over his sheep. And sometimes biblical authors will use this word to refer to God, like in the phrases, the Lord of all the earth or the Lord of lords. But behind all of these words, Jehovah, Lord, Adonai, stands the original divine name of the God of Israel. It refers to the one who was, who is, and who forever will be.
Thanks for watching this.
What's great about that video that I love so much is it just talks about the idea of learning about the different names of Yahweh. That I love just historically in the Israelite history how we learn the movements of of I am to Yahweh, to Adonai, to Yahuwah, and the ways in which the encompassing depth of what that name actually means. You see attached to me here a few different names that I've had utilized in my life, just from my first name to my nickname, and this name here was a nickname I had in college, and even the hats that I wear as both dad and husband are names that really embody the importance of the identity of who I am. But each of them is associated in some ways to an action. You may or may not find this funny, but my actual name, Keegan, means little fiery one. And some of you that know me might think that might be really true. But what I want to emphasize for us in this is that as the people of God, we live into this particular name, this identity, this to Shema actually lives in support of the name of Yahweh, that we're brought in, we're invited into the name of what it means to live as a person that belongs to Yahweh. And with that, as we often talk about, is the association of our actions that link the tie to that particular name. As you've heard me mention before, that sometimes my last name, I'd heard this phrase growing up, we're Lankers, this is who we are. And in biblical understanding, oftentimes your name was associated with your identity of your father. So Zebedee's sons, like your name was associated. And so you had this deep responsibility to embody and live in a particular way, that actions that associated with the name that was tied to who you were, this identity. So even in the Old Testament, we learn even what it means to take the Lord's name in vain. It's not necessarily this thing where we use God's name as a cuss word, but it's that to take God's name in vain is to actually live in a particular way that is counter to the invitation that we've been brought into. So I want us to think about, as we embrace this idea of the Shema, as we embrace this identity, the name of Yahweh, that our association with the name of Yahweh is something that to be a holiness and a person that is holy is to embody and live. And when the actions that associate ourselves to the witness of Christ, to the witness of Yahweh in the world, is something that we take deeply and uniquely seriously in who we are as the people of God. I hope as we navigate this journey through Shema, as we look at this, the name of Yahweh, the Lord, the Adonai, the Jehovah, the name that we uphold so highly, that we associate and recognize the connection that comes with our identity found in who Christ longs for us to be, this identity, this people of God that belong to Christ himself.